Not every punch leaves a bruise. Not every insult comes with a raised voice. In today's workplaces, harassment doesn't always look like what you think. It hides behind smiles, jokes, feedback, and even company culture. It shows up in passive-aggressive emails, cold shoulders during meetings, and being left out of important conversations, quietly chipping away at people's confidence and mental health. If you've ever left a meeting, a Zoom call, or even just scrolled through work messages with a knot in your stomach thinking, was that normal? You're not imagining things, and you're not alone. Modern workplace harassment is often silent, subtle, invisible. It doesn't scream. Sometimes it whispers, and if you're not paying attention, it will wear you down until you start thinking it's your fault. The truth is, what you don't see can hurt you, and what you don't call out could cost you your peace of mind, your opportunities, and even your career. Most people think harassment happens to someone else, a friend, a stranger, someone in a viral news story. But here's the uncomfortable truth. It could happen to you, and often it already is before you even realize it. It doesn't start with screaming. It starts with jokes that cut too deep. It starts with glances that dismiss your ideas. It starts with the silence after you speak up. Every single minute, someone somewhere is harassed at work, and most never report it. Not because they're weak, but because they didn't realize it counted. Because so much harassment today hides behind being professional, just kidding, or not a big deal. It's time to stop doubting yourself. It's time to start seeing harassment for what it really is. Because pretending it's not that bad is a luxury none of us can afford anymore. In the next few minutes, we're exposing 7 types of workplace harassment that are happening every single day, often unnoticed, unchallenged, and untreated. Some of these may absolutely shock you, but once you see them, you'll never look at harmless office behavior the same way again. Watch closely, not just with your eyes, but with the part of you that's been bruised in silence. Because what we're about to uncover, it's not just about policies. It's about the hidden ways people are broken at work and why no one dares to speak. Stay until the end, because somewhere in this story is your story. Let's get into it. What is workplace harassment? Really, at its core, workplace harassment is any unwelcome behavior, verbal, physical, written, or visual, that creates a hostile, intimidating, or offensive work environment. Sounds familiar, right? But in reality, it's not always that simple. Harassment can be obvious, like inappropriate touching or threats, but it can also be more subtle, repeated comments about someone's appearance, constantly interrupting, or talking over someone in meetings, giving someone the silent treatment, or isolating them from team activities. And yep, it can happen, in person or online. Let's dive into the main topic. This is where the value of the video really comes in. We'll go over with 7 types of workplace harassment, with shocking examples you didn't expect. 1. Verbal harassment. Let's start with one of the most common verbal harassment. This includes any spoken words that are offensive, threatening, belittling, or inappropriate. But it's not just shouting or using profanities. Sometimes it's sarcasm disguised as humor, constant criticism, or comments that target someone's appearance, background, or work ethic in a demeaning way. For example, "You are always so sensitive," or "Are you even qualified for this role?" This type of harassment can be subtle, which is what makes it dangerous. People often brush it off as banter or personality differences. But over time, it wears down confidence and creates a toxic atmosphere. According to a 2022 survey by the Workplace Bullying Institute, more than 60% of U.S. workers said they've either witnessed or been subjected to verbal abuse at work. That's huge, and it tells us just how normalized this behavior can become if left unchecked. Here are some more verbal harassments you might come across. Picture this. You're in the break room, and a colleague walks in and loudly says, "Oh great, here comes the office bimbo. Try not to mess anything up today." And people just laugh uncomfortably. This happens multiple times a week. Here's another example. A manager regularly yells at you in front of the team, calling you useless, pathetic, or saying things like, "How did someone like you even get hired?" These aren't critiques. They're personal attacks, and they're repeated. You've told someone multiple times to stop swearing at you, and yet they continue to say things like, "You're such a dumbass," or "You're the weakest link in this whole department." These comments may be passed off as just jokes, but they're targeted, dismissive, and create discomfort, especially when they're repeated. The longer they're ignored, the more normalized they become, and that's when they start chipping away at someone's sense of belonging. 2. Physical harassment. Now, physical harassment might sound straightforward, but it's more than just physical assault. This type of harassment includes any unwanted physical contact, from overly aggressive gestures and touching to physically intimidating someone by invading their personal space without respecting others' boundaries. It also includes throwing objects, blocking someone's path, or slamming doors during heated moments. For example, a supervisor jokingly pokes your shoulder every time you disagree with them in meetings. Or a coworker repeatedly sits too close or corners you at your desk, despite your discomfort, even when it's not violent. If the physical behavior is unwanted and makes someone feel unsafe or uncomfortable, it counts as harassment. Here are a few more scenarios. Imagine you're in the break room, reaching for your coffee, and a coworker brushes up behind you a little too closely every single day. Or a supervisor who finds reasons to touch your shoulder, pat your back, or stand way too close during one-on-one conversations, even when you've tried stepping away. There's also physical intimidation, like someone slamming a door, throwing an object, even if not directed at you, or hovering behind you at your desk in a way that makes you feel watched. These actions send a message, and that message is, I don't respect your boundaries. Even if there's no physical pain, it can be deeply violating. Physical harassment is not always sexual. Sometimes it's about power, control, dominance, a stare held too long, a door held closed, a space made too small. And when you finally find the courage to say, that made me uncomfortable, they laugh. Don't flatter yourself. You're making something out of nothing. It's just how I am. No, it's physical harassment. It's real. It's subtle. It's terrifying. And it should make them uncomfortable, not you. One important note, physical harassment doesn't need to leave a mark to be serious. If someone's body is being used to exert control, intimidation, or disrespect, it needs to be addressed. 3. Psychological or emotional harassment. This one is a bit less visible, but just as harmful, psychological or emotional harassment. We're talking about behaviors that undermine a person's self-esteem, isolate them socially, or make them feel constantly anxious and on edge. It can include gaslighting, manipulation, silent treatment, or constant nitpicking that makes the target question their abilities. For example, your boss praises everyone else's work in meetings, but always leaves your name out even when you were the project lead. Or a colleague spreads subtle rumors about you to make others distrust you. Damage here is long-term and internal. Emotional harassment doesn't just ruin someone's workday, it can deeply impact mental health and even lead to conditions like depression or burnout. According to the American Psychological Association, chronic exposure to emotional harassment in the workplace is linked to reduced job satisfaction, increased absenteeism, and long-term anxiety disorders. Let's say this happens at work. Your manager gives you impossible deadlines, criticizes you for not meeting them, and then publicly praises someone else for the same work you're doing. Or maybe they forget to include you in important meetings, leave your name off email threads, and then blame you for being uninformed. There's also gaslighting. You raise a concern, and they say you're overreacting. No one else has a problem with it. These tactics may not leave visible marks, but they create constant self-doubt, anxiety, and burnout. Psychological harassment often goes unnoticed by others, but for the person experiencing it, it can feel like slow, quiet erosion. 4. Discriminatory harassment. Now this one is often the most legally recognized discriminatory harassment. This includes harassment based on race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, age, disability, or any protected characteristic. It can take many forms: verbal abuse, exclusion from opportunities, unfair treatment, or targeted jokes and stereotypes. This isn't just a few bad jokes. This is racism, sexism, ableism, ageism, homophobia, transphobia, faith-based bigotry. This is being constantly reminded that you're other. It's being told you're too young to lead or too old to innovate. It's being mocked for how you pray or punished for asking to. It's hearing you don't look gay or wow, you speak so well, like it's a compliment. It's being the only woman in the room and still not being heard. It's being passed up for promotion because clients might not connect with your background. It's being overlooked, out-talked, or outright erased. They won't say it out loud. They don't have to. It shows in your salary, in who gets mentored, in who gets celebrated, and who gets scrutinized. Discriminatory harassment isn't always loud. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, and you bleed silently day after day. This type of harassment is not just inappropriate. It's illegal under most workplace discrimination laws. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, receives tens of thousands of complaints related to race, sex, and disability discrimination every year. But here's the thing, not all discriminatory harassment is obvious. It can show up in microaggressions, small, repeated comments, or behaviors that signal bias even when they're not overt. Crucial to address, these comments and behaviors may seem small individually, but together they create an environment of othering, and it's illegal under many workplace laws. 5. Sexual harassment. You probably saw this one coming. Sexual harassment is one of the most talked about, but still one of the most misunderstood. It includes any unwelcome sexual advance, request for sexual favors, or other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature. This can be explicit, like inappropriate comments about someone's body or repeated requests for dates, or subtle, like suggestive jokes, inappropriate texts, or accidental touching. For example, a supervisor compliments your outfit in a way that feels uncomfortable, or a colleague frequently sends you memes or images that cross the line. Sexual harassment can also be quid pro quo, where job benefits are tied to sexual favors, which is highly illegal. According to the National Women's Law Center, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace, though many incidents go unreported due to fear of retaliation or being dismissed. In some offices, people actually deal with things like a coworker who frequently comments on your looks. You look way too good to be working late, or that dress is dangerous. Or maybe they send you memes and messages that start off flirty, then slowly become more inappropriate. If only I weren't married. Or worse, they keep inviting you out alone after work, even after you've politely declined several times. Then there's nonverbal sexual harassment, staring, suggestive gestures, or sharing explicit jokes in team chats. Let's drop the filters. This is not just about assault. It's about being stared at like a piece of meat in a boardroom. It's about being told to dress a bit sexier for the client. It's having your ideas ignored, but your smile complimented. It's lewd doms at midnight, comments about your figure when you're just trying to get coffee. You hesitate to report it because HR wants proof. Predators? They're smarter now. They don't leave evidence. They leave discomfort. They normalize it. Everyone just adjusts. This isn't rare. It's institutional. Some companies don't weed out predators. They promote them. Here is a fact worth acknowledging. Sexual harassment doesn't always look like an assault, but it always crosses a line, and it can make someone dread going to work. 6. Retaliation harassment. This one is sneaky and often used to silence people. Retaliation harassment happens when someone faces negative consequences like isolation, demotion, or criticism after reporting misconduct, standing up for themselves, or supporting a coworker's claim. For example, after reporting a colleague for inappropriate behavior, your boss suddenly excludes you from important projects, stops inviting you to meetings, or starts documenting performance issues that were never brought up before. Retaliation is illegal under most labor laws, but that doesn't stop some workplaces from trying to make whistleblowers pay the price. This type of harassment creates a chilling effect. People stop speaking up because they're afraid of being punished, which allows the original toxic behavior to continue. It can show up like this: you filed a complaint. You thought the system would protect you. Now you're suddenly underperforming. You get reassigned to less important projects. Your performance reviews tank. You're labeled difficult. People stop sitting near you in the break room. They didn't fire you. They're just making you want to quit. That's retaliation. It's as illegal as it is common. This is why so many stay silent, because justice comes with a price. These aren't just coincidences. They're subtle punishments meant to discourage speaking up. Retaliation is about power and silence. And if companies don't step in, it sends the message that raising your voice comes at a cost. 7. Digital or remote harassment. As remote work becomes more common, so does a newer category: digital harassment. This includes any form of harassment that happens through digital communication, emails, chats, Slack messages, Zoom calls, or social media. Just because it's happening on a screen doesn't make it any less serious. For example, a coworker sends you GIFs or memes with sexual innuendo, or you're constantly left out of team chat threads, despite being part of the project. Or maybe someone micromanages you through constant surveillance on time tracking software or video calls. Remote harassment is often harder to prove, especially if it's subtle or the tone is ambiguous. But it's real, and it's growing. According to a 2021 survey by Talentlums and the Purple Campaign, 38% of remote workers reported experiencing online harassment since working from home, a number that's likely underreported. Here's a situation that crosses the line. You get Slack messages from a coworker late at night with things like "you up?" or "we should hang out sometime, work is stressful," right? Or maybe someone keeps tagging you unnecessarily in group chats to embarrass you or mock your responses. Some remote employees face excessive micromanagement, like being told to keep their camera on all day or receiving rude messages when they step away for a break. You ignore it. It keeps coming. You want to block them, but you can't because they outrank you or work beside you. If you shut them out, they'll make your work life hell. Digital harassment is invisible ink, hard to trace, easy to deny. It poisons your mental health one DM at a time. It turns your own phone into a source of dread. Here's a fact to be noted. Harassment doesn't stop just because you're working from home. In fact, digital harassment often goes unrecorded because people are afraid to speak up or unsure whether it counts. It does. Why it never ends. Let's say it without flinching. Harassment is not a glitch in the system. It is the system. Built on fear. Maintained by silence. HR, leadership, coworkers, everyone tells you, let it go. Don't ruin your reputation. That's just how this industry is. But what they mean is, don't make us uncomfortable. So you stop speaking up. You put on your I'm fine mask. And die a little every day. This isn't an isolated problem. It's structural, cultural, profitable. Some companies would rather protect a predator than admit they were wrong, because lawsuits cost money. But silence? Silence pays dividends. Signs you missed, let's talk to the one who thinks this doesn't apply to them. You're successful. You've made it. Look closer. Do people laugh nervously when your boss jokes about interns? Do women stay quiet in meetings because they know what happens when they speak? Do new hires leave within months, but no one asks why? If you've said he's a jerk, but he gets results. She's intense, but she's brilliant. It's not my place to interfere. Then you've seen harassment, and you walked away. This is your wake-up call. No one is too senior, too smart, or too busy to care. If you're not helping to fix it, you're helping it stay broken. So what now? Let's be clear, surviving isn't weakness. Silence isn't consent. And walking away isn't giving up. It's survival. But there are steps. Small ones, loud ones, uncomfortable ones. 1. Believe people. When someone says something happened, don't ask for proof. Ask what they need. 2. Speak up strategically. Call out toxic jokes. Question biased hiring. Say that wasn't okay. Not once. Every time. 3. Document everything. Keep records. Timestamps. Screenshots. Your truth deserves a trail. 4. Seek allies. One voice shakes walls, but many burn the building down. 5. Companies, do better. Stop performing change. Start living it. Anonymous reporting systems that actually lead to consequences. Trauma-informed leadership training. Survivor-centered policies. Accountability that doesn't wait for headlines. Harassment is not a shadow. It's a spotlight. It exposes who we are, what we allow, what we excuse, and what we're too afraid to name. But if even one person speaks, the silence is broken. If 10 do, the walls start to shake. And if we all do, the system burns. And we build something better. You're not imagining it. You're not overreacting. You're not alone. You're enough. And you're not done yet. We built skyscrapers out of ambition. We built brands out of people. But we buried countless souls in conference rooms, all because we called it just work. And what we called tough love was humiliation. What we called banter was psychological warfare. What we called loyalty was survival. Harassment isn't a ghost story whispered in HR meetings. It's alive, breathing down the necks of the silent, groomed, promoted, protected, every single day. So, if you're still waiting for a sign to speak, this is it. Speak loudly before your silence becomes someone else's resignation letter or obituary, because the truth is a toxic workplace doesn't just ruin careers. It erodes humanity. They didn't just break the rules. They broke people. They didn't just silence the voices. They rewrote the truth. And we let them.